On episode 672 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we discuss a topic that comes up all the time when we're talking about weight loss, health, and fitness: alcohol consumption. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/672. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness, the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. Each week, we dive deep into health and fitness topics that affect those of us over 40. I'm Coach Allen. I'm an NASM certified personal trainer with specializations in corrective exercise, behavior change, performance enhancement, and fitness nutrition. A Precision Nutrition Level 1 coach, a FAI certified functional age-linked specialist, and an OTA Level 2 online trainer. Each week, I'm joined by our co-host, Coach Rachel. She is an NASM certified personal trainer and a RRCA Level 1 run coach. Let us be your coaches as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Hey, Raz, how are you?
Good, Alan. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been it's always busy, but,
Isn't it?
it's just a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, trying to get things done ahead of time, because we have holidays coming up.
Yes.
And I want to be able to, take time, enjoy myself. Well, we did go fishing this weekend. That was actually pretty cool. Yeah, we there's a lot of charity stuff that goes on here, and a lot of the businesses will put in for charities. And so this one business, he's a sports fisherman tour guide, and he put in one for sports fishing, and then Tammy bid on it at the silent auction and won it.
Oh wow!
So we got around to doing that this Sunday, and so we went out and did some fishing. I managed to pull in a 15-pound tuna. That's the black tip tuna. So not a small one, but not a huge one, but a big enough. So we ended up with like 6 tuna that came in. So we processed that and got that going. So I probably have somewhere around, I would say, 15 to 20 pounds of tuna to eat over the course of the next 3 or 4 months.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So that was a good day. Got some sun, got out there, enjoyed the day. You're unplugged because there's no cell phone signal. There's no anything. So
how peaceful.
We're out there, doing a thing and doing some fishing. So it was pretty awesome. Probably something I will want to do again soon. But I got to eat that 15 to 20 pounds of tuna I got in my freezer right now.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds delicious.
So how are things up there?
Good. Like you said, it's a busy time of year. I'm kind of dotting and dashing in between family events and whatnot, but I'm still looking forward to next year. I'm trying to figure out what my New Year's goals are going to be. So I've got a couple of things lined up. I haven't fully committed on anything, but I'm just trying to figure out, what are my A goals for next year, and how I feel about them is going to be how I consider what I want to do. I've got a couple of big races. I got a couple other big personal goals. So we'll see what shakes out over the next month before we hit New Year's.
Well, we're a few weeks away as this goes live. We're a few weeks away from the new year.
Yep.
And I am going to do that. Our new year, because we're actually going to have an episode that drops on the 31st of December, and I'm going to talk a little bit about setting goals.
Nice.
And particularly bigger goals, like when you're looking a year ahead, because it's sometimes, and it's often in our best interest to make smaller goals, so we feel more in control, we feel more confident. And we can get those goals done, but sometimes it's cool to dream big. It's cool to look ahead and say, what does my Q1 look like? What does Q2? And to see those as building blocks towards something as you go. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a few weeks. But
awesome.
Cool. So I'm going to be interested then to kind of hear, because again, we'll be recording that a few weeks before the year end. But as we kind of get into it, I'll be interested to hear what you come up with.
Awesome. Happy to share.
All right. You ready to get into our episode today?
Sure.
Hello, and welcome to episode 672 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast. I'm Coach Allen. Today is kind of be a different type of show that I've done in the past. Basically, this one's going to be about alcohol, and I've talked about alcohol a few times in the past, and actually, this is one of the areas where my opinion is beginning to change. And so I want to kind of share that with you today. On October 1st of this year, I decided to stop drinking. And when I made the decision, it was a decision that I'm intending to be permanent. I don't think that alcohol was serving me, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I decided, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and give it up, and I'll talk about some of the reasons for that as well. Okay, so now as I'm recording this, I'm right at about 49, 50 days in. And I've had some experiences with it, probably not all that I will, but at least at this point, I feel like I'm in a good place to start talking about it, particularly as we go into the season of Christmas parties and New Year's Eve and all that type of thing. This seemed like a good time for us to have this conversation. Now, first thing I want to say is this is not a judgment episode. I'm not going to tell you that you should do what I do. In fact, I want you to live your own life. I want you to make your own choices. I have reasons I'm making this choice. I'll share that, but this is not a judgment episode in any stretch of the imagination. You do you, okay, and I do me. But I did want to talk about it a little bit. Okay, so before I get into what this experience has been like, I want to share a little bit about why I did this. Okay, I did start it on October 1st, and in the intents of that starting with Sober October. I know a lot of people will celebrate. That's kind of funny to say, isn't it? Celebrate by not drinking October by calling it Sober October. So I did kick it off October 1st, knowing that there were other people out there that were doing the same thing. Accountability. Okay, did I ask for specific accountability? No. But this is not something I was just looking to do for October. This was kind of a permanent thing, and it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. Now, I've had periods where I've gone months without drinking, but it was a little bit more regular than I would have liked. And so when I took this break, again, knowing that this was not just a 1 or 2 month thing, this was going to be permanent. It was kind of a different feel, if you will, of just saying I'm going to dry out a little bit and then move on. This was a slightly different approach, a slightly different thing. This was a lifestyle change. This was not just a project or an experiment. This was a full lifestyle change. Okay. The core reasons I'm doing this is there's fivefold. There's 5 reasons why I'm interested in doing this or was interested in doing this. Okay, number 1, I was noticing that alcohol was adversely affecting my sleep. I would not sleep so well the first couple hours after having some alcohol because you tend to drink that in the evening. You don't tend to drink that in the morning and go hours without. So I would tend to have alcohol in my system when I go to sleep. And I would notice that maybe the first 4 hours, 5 hours of my sleep were not the best quality. Which basically meant I was really only getting 3 to 4 hours of quality sleep each night, and that was not enough. I was not feeling as rested as I needed to. I was also finding that it was very difficult for me to continue to push my resistance training. Sometimes that was because I was waking up a little dehydrated. Other times, again, I think it was because I wasn't getting adequate sleep. But my resistance training was beginning to suffer. Beyond that, I was also finding it harder to comply with nutrition goals. And I'll get into that in a little bit later, why that was happening. But in general, I was not meeting my nutrition goals on a fairly consistent basis. And again, consistent, I was not meeting my nutrition goals. Okay. The fourth one was that it was affecting my brain matter. And I recently found a study. I'll put a link in the show notes. Now, we all know that heavy drinkers tend to have problems, mental issues with their brain, the quality of your brain matter. And they knew this was the case for heavy drinkers because often those individuals when they passed, there would be an autopsy. They would see the difference in the healthy brain versus a heavy drinker, and they saw massive difference over the course of time in those individuals. But a recent study, and that's the one I'll link in here, even showed that just casual drinkers, like 1 to 2 per day, are also messing with your gray matter. Actually, your white matter is what's being messed with. But the study's pretty clear. Yes, it is proportional to how heavy you are as a drinker, but basically comes forward and says there's probably no safe amount of alcohol to consume in general if you want to maintain the quality of your brain. I kind of do. So that was another big reason. And then the other side of it was I just really wasn't enjoying it as much as I had in the past. Alcohol had kind of always been a way for me to turn off my brain a little, so I could relax and be a little bit more social. And it wasn't really doing that as much. And so I was like, okay, I have a couple drinks, and I'm still not really into the scene, not into it. And where I am in Bocas, this is not the drinking is not a weekly thing, a weekend thing. It can be a daily thing. There's parties, there's birthdays, there's events all the time. And so it's hard to avoid being caught up in some of that and thinking, okay, I'll have a couple drinks with friends, and boom, that's Monday night. Have a couple drinks with friends, boom, that's Tuesday night, and on and on and on. So I wasn't really enjoying it. So 5 good reasons for me to consider just going ahead and stopping this, getting this out of my life. Okay. Now I am less than 2 months in. So, not a lot of what I'd call physical changes. And obviously I'm not measuring the volume of my brain to see that it's having a positive impact. But there are a few things that I can report. Just even 2 months, just less than 2 months in. I am sleeping a lot better. And I mean deeper, heavier sleep, longer sleeps. My body is in a recovery mode right now. It's kind of interesting. So I feel better each morning. I'm getting better and better sleep, and in many cases sleeping much longer than I did before, and the quality is so much better. Okay, so that's the first one, and maybe the most important one. Sleep is so important to our health, and we ignore it so much. We push it off so much, and alcohol does not help you sleep better. So, again, that's been maybe the biggest takeaway for this whole thing. The other thing is when I wake up in the morning, I'm not as dehydrated. The kind of the dry feeling that you get if you've had a couple too many drinks. And so you wake up in the morning and you're groggy. It's not that you're hungover. There's not a headache or the other things. You're not that dehydrated, but you're dehydrated enough to feel less energy, to just feel not as good. And so I wake up in the morning feeling better, singing to my dogs, walking my dogs, enjoying my mornings so much more. And that's been really, really good. So hydration is really important. And if you're having alcohol, particularly at night, and then going to sleep, you're going to wake up dehydrated. It's just a question of how dehydrated you are. If you're not drinking the alcohol, you'll be much less dehydrated. You'll feel better. You'll have more energy. Okay. And then the other side of it, and it's kind of the funny thing, is that I don't really miss it at all. And I think that's a core thing is for a lot of people, if you find this is a big part of your day to day or your week to week, try going without and see if that really substantially changes your experience. For me, it hasn't. But here's the one thing I will say. I'm not going out as often. And so, if I look at it from the perspective of the way my lifestyle was before, I mean, I live right across the street from a bar. You may have remembered me telling you about the building of the bar across the street. It's called Besame. It's right across the street, literally probably, like right across. So like we walk out our front gate of our house, it's no more than 5 steps across the street, and you're walking into the gate of the beach bar. So it's right there. So it was very easy to have a drink here and a drink there. And as I kind of calculated on the back of an envelope this week, as I was preparing for this show, I realized I was probably back then spending about $50 a week on drinks. That's a IPA beer here, a glass of wine there, a glass of wine there. In about a week's time, I was spending well over $50, and you add that up, that's $2,500 per year. So that's, I'm not going to say that's a substantial amount of money, but for some of us, yeah, having that extra $2,500 to spend on something more valuable, better for my health, better for me, better choice. Okay, so I'm saving money, I'm sleeping better, I'm feeling better in the morning, particularly in the morning, and I don't really miss it. So, those are some core things that I've just noticed just in the first 2 months. So if you're considering quitting, here's some things that I want to give you tips on. Okay. First, just quit. You could set a date like I did, or you can just stop. But you just basically quit. Most of us are not able to do things like alcohol in moderation. We get out, we have the first drink, we're going to have a second drink, and maybe the third. And from there, wherever it goes, right? So don't think this is something that you can just say, okay, I'm going to have less. Some people will, but for the most part, you'll find yourself later drifting back to the same groove, the same structure, same habit set that you have today. If you're not happy with how much you're drinking today, you're going to end up right back in that spot at some point in the future if you just try to do moderation. So I would say don't try moderation. Just go ahead and quit. Okay, and you're going to do a lot better with that. Make sure the people around you know that you're not drinking. Okay. There will be those awkward offers where someone says, "Hey, you want a drink?" and you have to say no. The more you let people know, as you let people know, I'll have a club soda, no, I'll have a water, and you give them those little reminders. Eventually, people will know to stop asking, and it'll stop being awkward. It takes a little while, particularly if that was a big part of your lifestyle, but let the people around you who care about you know, and they'll answer a lot of those awkward questions for you long before you have to. So you're not in that situation where people are, "Oh, come on, man, do this." No, the answer is no. I've always had a rule: I don't do shots. My wife knows why, and so I don't do shots. And so that's always been a rule. People would offer me shots, and then now most of my friends knew I would not do shots. Okay. And so that became easier and easier. And then now, without me drinking at all, most people know that. And so now fewer and fewer awkward offers. Okay. And then you may want to make some other changes in your life to help make this stick. Okay. To make it easier. I talk about this when we're putting together our motivation map, and we're over here in the self-efficacy side, and we're thinking, okay, how do we make this easier? So we're over in the self-management, and we're looking at ways for self-efficacy to make this easier. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, there's a bar right across the street from my house. Okay. In the past, as I was walking home, it was very easy to just bop in there. There's always a couple friends over there. And so it's like bop over, have a couple drinks, hang out with friends. Then, yeah, I'm going to come home and cook dinner. Okay. But what would typically end up happening is I would end up over there a little too long with my friends. It would turn out to be more than one or two drinks. And then it's too late to want to, or I'm too lazy, whichever, to come home to cook dinner. So I just order dinner out. Okay, that was a behavior problem. And so now I don't stop by there. I see it, I say hello to anyone that's standing outside, and I just walk into my house. Okay. So avoiding some places might be necessary. Avoiding some people might be necessary. If you were really serious about doing this, you make that happen. That's a part of the self-management. Okay, the next is things that you'll do. Like Well, you'll have heard this by then, but we're planning a Thanksgiving party over at a friend's house. Now, there'll be plenty of beer and wine on hand. Everybody's going to be bringing some, and there'll be plenty. I'll be bringing water and club soda. So when I'm there, I'm drinking water and club soda. But I know if I just depended on someone else to have those things around, they probably wouldn't. Most bars and restaurants will serve you a water or serve you a club soda. If you ask for it, you order it. But going to someone's house, carry what you need. Okay, it's a bring your own beer thing, or bring your own wine, or bring your own booze, or however you guys classify it, carry your own. Um, and so that's kind of some of the core things. If you want to really make this stick, is have a plan, so you do have what you need. Tell people around you so they know that you're not doing this, and then just make it the rule. This is not what I do. Those are my core tips. I'm sure over the course of the next few months, as I go through this and we go through the holidays, I'll probably learn a little bit more about this. But in a general sense, just realize I do feel a lot better. I'm sleeping a lot better. My energy is better. And I don't really miss it. So if you're thinking about doing this, reach out. Let me know if you need some accountability. I'll be glad to help you. If you think you have a problem, and this is, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but I do want to say this, is if you do think you have a problem with alcohol, you do need to get professional help. Okay, this might not just be a walk away from it type of thing that I was able to do. You may need professional help to get you through this and get you onto the other side. And so if you do feel that that's a problem, I strongly encourage you to get that help. Okay. Don't necessarily try to white knuckle this and make it happen for yourself. If you feel like you're struggling with alcohol and it's beyond your capacity to just walk away from it, go seek help. But if you just feel like this is just an accountability thing or something you really just want to do for yourself, for your family, for your future, I'm in your corner. I'm there with you. And I'll probably do some follow-ups and talk about this occasionally in our little hello segments between things as we go, as I learn new things. So stick around and we will get through this together. Enjoy the rest of your day. Welcome back, Raz.
Hey, Alan. Well, first of all, congratulations on several months of sobriety. It's amazing. It's a big deal, at least to me. And I really appreciate that you've taken the time to share with us your experience with giving alcohol the boot.
Well, it's only been 49 days, so I wouldn't say it.
Close.
I wouldn't say it's several months. It's 49 days. So I haven't, fully embrace the whole thing of what value I'm getting from it. But even in the short term, I've seen some pretty good stuff, and so yeah, I'm pretty sure I've made the right decision. That this is where I'm going to go.
That's important.
And before we got on the call, we're talking about this, and it kind of comes off as that's amazing. That's novel. Trying to think of words that we could use besides the weird word, but it's not normal is the way people will kind of address it, and particularly where I live, because that's part of the atmosphere is that it's a party place, and there's a bar across the street from everywhere, even one here by my office. So. But it shouldn't be. It's like if someone said, milk doesn't agree with me, so I'm going to cut out ice cream. No one would bat an eye.
For sure.
They'd be like, okay, I understand. If if you can't, you're not getting value for yourself out of the ice cream, and you're not enjoying it, then by all means. But for some reason, when someone says, well, I'm not going to drink alcohol anymore. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yep. People look at you sideways. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's not it could be a thing. If it's a thing for you, it's a thing for you. And then go get, like I said at the end, go talk to a professional about it. But if it's just you're doing something for your own health and well-being, it is normal.
It is.
And in
It's
fact, it's not normal for alcohol to be such a prevalent thing in society
mhm.
because that's not the way things have always been.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving up alcohol is a pretty common thing in the running community. When people are training for a big race, half marathon, full marathon, ultra marathon, it is pretty customary to give up alcohol for all the reasons that you stated. You know, it can disrupt our sleep, it can get us dehydrated, and when you're sweating like we do on a run, you need the hydration even more. And it has a cascading effect. It actually impairs what we're trying to achieve to train to do this big event. So it is pretty customary in my world. And I know some people who have just like you have chosen to stay sober because we're constantly training for something bigger and better. So but on the other hand, it's also just as customary to train. Like you've seen the t-shirts, I run to eat donuts, or I run for beer. I used to have a shirt that says I run for wine. And it's another part of that social atmosphere. I actually have a run club and we meet at a brewery once a week. But on that same note, not everybody attends these types of events. Not everybody appreciates this or needs this in their life either. So I totally understand there is a level of normalcy with being sober. I would like to see that a little bit more prevalent and a little bit more normalized in the world, because it does have dire health consequences, especially when you're trying to train or you have a goal in mind.
Yeah, and you had mentioned, and again, I don't have a link to the study or anything that
Hmm.
you was referenced, but you were watching a program and they
Yes.
talked about breast cancer.
Yes, during the month of October, I like to follow the news because they usually share some important information about breast cancer and screenings and health. And there was a doctor on one of the morning news shows that said that for people with a high risk of breast cancer, alcohol is basically off the charts. Not one drink per week, zero alcohol. Otherwise, you automatically increase your risk for breast cancer. I also don't have a link to that study. It was just a discussion. They didn't cite anything that I would have taken notes on, but it did bring to mind like it's something worth discussing with my doctor. My high risk breast cancer doctor might know more about this, but you know, there's certain things that are just flat out not good for your health, whether it's in this moment or long term health, like I'm trying to achieve with my high risk for breast cancer. So, I mean, it's out there. Alcohol, like you had mentioned, is not a natural thing. It can be considered a poison. The dose makes the poison. And like we keep saying, if you have a health condition or if you have a health goal in mind, why sabotage yourself?
Yeah. Well, I would argue that it is a poison. It is a
Mm-hmm.
toxin. Our body addresses it like a toxin. It
Mm-hmm.
treats it like a toxin. But the point is, and that was what was going on with that brain study, is pretty much any amount of what we would consider normal alcohol use, like a glass of wine a day,
Mm-hmm.
um, does reduce the white matter in your brain. That's
Hmm.
what the study found. I'll look for that study before I get the show notes out and see if I can find a little bit more detail on it. But the base point is there is no healthy drinking.
Right.
And unfortunately, this happens more times than not, is someone wants it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will say it's safe to do X
Mm-hmm.
only because they want to keep doing X.
Right.
So that's not what their study said. It was just that's where they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I think with the alcohol that might have been the thing. They'll look at brains of people who were heavy drinkers and say, "Oh, obviously this is a bad thing."
Mm-hmm.
And now they've finally someone sat down and looked at the brains of just normal people that are alive that drink regularly
Mm-hmm.
and saw that there was it was smaller. It's a smaller mass
Mm-hmm.
of brain, and so from that perspective, I don't know if there is a safe way, but there's definitely not a situation where you can say alcohol is healthy
Right.
or good for you, because they tried that with the Reversatol or whatever it is, the antioxidant. Like this
In
has
the
got that.
wine. Yeah.
You would have to literally drink tank loads of wine to get the amount that they were using on that rat study.
Right.
Again, just for the sake of saying, oh, this is beneficial for you, therefore this is okay. Same thing with like they look at, when they look at the Mediterranean diets, oh, they drink wine regularly. So it's healthy. No, not necessarily, but probably a higher quality, probably more organic, probably some of the other things that we don't deal with in standard stuff that we might be buying or using today. But at the end, that doesn't make it healthy.
Right, right. Yep. Well, I
So
appreciate you giving it up for this amount of time and seeing how your body has reacted to the lack of alcohol, the change in lifestyle. I think
I
only good
lived.
things.
I
Yeah.
lived. That's the story. Yay! He's still alive. He didn't die not
Yep.
drinking alcohol.
Yep.
Um,
But I
and
think
you
it's
won't either if
right.
you make choices that this is what you want to do for your health. This is
For
what you want
sure.
to do for your brain. This
Yep.
is what you want to do for performance. And honestly, if you step back, you'll probably find that you don't miss it nearly as much as you thought you would.
For sure. Well, I appreciate your experience, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
All right. Well, I will talk to you next week.
Thanks, Alan. Take care.
You too.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you would, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast player of choice. I'd also love to connect with you on my new Instagram account, Coach Alan M. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Tom Moulin, aka Tom the Trainer, and discuss how to optimize your physique over 40. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.